And as I was ministering in this church, and I had heard that Phil Driscoll, how many of you remember Phil Driscoll, the trumpet player? Phil Driscoll was coming to the area about an hour away. And so I told the church people, I said, listen, let's go, let's get in the van, let's go see this man of God. There were a lot of people there. There's several thousand there to see Phil. Phil just really said, listen, if you've come to just be entertained, then you came to the wrong place. But if you came to worship, you're at the right place. And so Phil began to worship the Lord on his trumpet. And it just was powerful. It was one of the most, at that time, probably one of the most powerful anointings I ever felt in my life. And sitting there amongst the church people, I had just led this young man to Christ. And I led this young man to Christ, and everything was new to him, speaking in tongues, everything was new. Why do people raise their hand? He thought we had questions. So, no, they're not asking questions. They're worshiping the Lord. And so he didn't know, But he was, he came out of heavy drugs, heavy alcohol, and everything else. But he loved Jesus, and this young man, his name was Andy, and he was sitting next to me. And I just got lost. I just got so lost and caught up in the Spirit like I'd never experienced before prior to that time. And there I was, and we're worshiping the Lord, and Phil begins to switch to the famous song, I Exalt Thee. Phil, when he began to do I Exalt Thee, I thought the building was going to collapse. It was like nobody could hardly even sing with it. It was so awesome. In that time, as I was worshiping God, and I just had my hands raised, in that time, I was lost. I went and I saw a cloud appear in the middle aisle of the church. And out of the cloud appeared the Christ. He walked right out of the cloud. It was so overwhelming at the time, I couldn't process it. It was like my mind couldn't process what I was seeing. And as he appeared and he walked out, I could see the holes in his hands and his feet. My whole body began to shake uncontrollably. And I just began to weep so violently, and I just fell to my face, and I just said, Lord, I feel so unclean. And I couldn't look anymore, and I wanted to look, but I couldn't look. It was just such an awesome thing. I couldn't even drive the church van home. They had to carry me out of the meeting. The young man that I had led to Christ was sitting next to me. He was trying to shake me. Tom, get a hold of yourself, But I couldn't, it was like I couldn't connect back with the natural. I couldn't even speak in English again for about an hour. It was shortly after that time I was in a service, and it stirred such a hunger in my heart and such a passion in my heart. I remember we were worshiping, and I was instantly caught up. I was caught up into this vision, and I was standing with Jesus, and I was at the throne, and a number of things began to happen, and the Lord began to, that was the second time that he had appeared to me in this vision. It wasn't near as dramatic as the first time, but it was so overwhelming that when I can't explain it other than this, but when I came back into my body, I was gone. I was not there. When I came back into my body, it was like I thought my body was going to explode. And my body just shook violently, uncontrollably, tears just running down my face. It was like water faucets turned on my eyes. And they had to literally carry me out of the church. They had to carry me back to the parsonage. People tried to talk to me, are you okay? And I answered them in tongues. The same thing happened. And so like well over an hour, my body just could not process it. It was like my body could not handle that appearance of the Christ. Come on, somebody.